Welcome back to Angela's Craft Room. Today I've got a video for you on this covered shopping list folder. Now, I started making these must be a couple of weeks ago, and I've really become addicted to them. Some of my customers are getting them from me in kit form without the stamped image or stamped sentiment, of course. So if anyone living in Australia is interested in the kits, just contact me and I'll let you know how much they are. So this is the front of the very first one that I made using the Beautiful You and the powdered pink. Now these ones that I'm going to show you first, I've used the Fresh Florals DSP on all these. So this is the powdered pink, and when you open it up you have your little pocket in there so you can put your receipts or whatever. I am waiting on some 2018 mini calendars, and they will go at the top here. So if you can get those, they go to the top here, and then if you lift this off, there is your shopping list. And I just think they're a very inexpensive gift to give. They'd be great to sell at markets. So I'll just show you the ones that I've done so far. So they're two the same. They're the bit different design series paper, but it's the Fresh Florals that I'll show you first, and that's in powdered pink with the Beautiful You image. And then this one is the Tranquil Tide. So I've made, this one's from Lovely as a Tree, and this image is from Blooming Hearts stamp set. So that's those two, and you can just add what sentiment. You could make these Christmas themed, birthday themed, or whatever you wanted. This is the Lemon Lime Twist colour that I've done with using Beautiful You. Now all my images, I have stamped the image in Versamark ink and then used the Stampin' Up gold embossing powder, but you could quite easily just stamp an image. And then I've used, in most cases, I've either used the Stitched Shaped Framelits to cut out the image and the sentiment, or I've used the layering ovals or layering squares or something like that. And then this is the last one, is Berry Burst, is in the new In Colours, which I really like this colour. So that's in the 2017 to 2019 In Colours. That's those In Colours. So they'll be available for quite a while. Then I've used the Delightful Daisy DSP on these, and I just love these images. You've Got Style is the name of the stamp set, and I just absolutely love these ones. They've just come up really well. So this one I've done in Calypso Coral, this one I've done in Old Olive, and the DSP is from Delightful Daisy. And I've just got a couple more. So that's another one from Delightful Daisy using the other image from You've Got Style. She's going shopping. So there's that one. And this is another one from Berry Burst, the In Colour. Just very similar to what I showed you before. And the last one is in, this design series paper is from Pick a Pattern, and I just really love this black. I think it's quite effective on the gold embossing of the lady from exactly the same stamp set as I mentioned before, You've Got Style. So there's those. And then this one I've just made is a Christmas one, and that's just in Cherry Cobbler with some Christmas DSP. So we'll get started and show you how you can make these. So to start with, I've got my measurements here at the side, but you need, I'm just going to use cherry cobbler, and it measures 8 1/4 by 8 1/4 long by 6 5/8 wide, and then I scored that on the short side, which is on the 6 5/8 of an inch side. I scored that at 3 1/8 and 3 1/2 inches. And then what you do is you just get your bone folder and you just crease those 2 score lines, and that will form that piece down there for you, just like on a book. So that gives you the folder. Okay, so we'll set that aside. And then what's very important, these measurements I'm giving you are for the writing pads I have. So if you buy different size ones that I've used, you might just have to change the measurements a little bit. I'll just quickly grab one so that I can tell you the size of the ones I've used. Sorry about that. So these are the ones I've used, and now the sticker's going to be over the top and I can't see the size. So I'm in Australia, if I didn't mention that before, and these are just bought from a cheap shop. I can't get them where I live, and a very wonderful friend of mine. Shout out to Debbie. Thank you, Debbie, for getting these for me. Now these ones they measure 73 millimeters by 196 millimeters. So that's 7.3 centimeters by 19.6 centimeters. So they're basically about 3 inches by about 7.5 inches. Okay, so if you get them in these packs, they're quite inexpensive. You get 4 pads in this pack, so that will help you keep your costs down. So we're just going to take one, and then you need to cut a piece of DSP that is 9 1/8 of an inch by 3 inches, and that is going to cover your writing pad. So what we do is we turn it over and we have it face down. So you just want a real little piece of a border like that at the bottom. Okay, you don't want too much or it won't fit into your folder. Now you just want to make sure you've just got a little bit of DSP as a border each side. It won't be very much, just a little bit. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to bring that piece up at the top, and I just run my fingers across the top like that. Okay, so then I get my bone folder, and I'm just going to crease that as neatly as I can, and then we're just going to face down. Don't do it that way, it must be face down because we're covering the front of the border. And now we've done that crease, we're just going to add some tear and tape. Now the fold is right there, so I want my tearing tape just to go straight across where I scored, and just snip that off, and then I place a piece at the top, and I wouldn't recommend anything but tearing tape when you're doing these projects. So you just take those off, and then we're just going to just hope my head's not in the way. So I just want to bring that right up to where the tearing tape is, and just making sure I've got a little bit of a border each side. And then I'm just going to rub that along the top, because that's where we did our crease, and just bring that down. And then that is the front of your writing pad. Okay, so then we're going to turn it over, and I add 3 strips of tearing tape on the back. I wouldn't recommend anything less, because especially if you're selling these at markets, or even if you're giving them as a gift, you don't want people saying to you that they've come off. And with tearing tape, there's no way they'll come off. It's a very strong adhesive. I use it for whenever I'm making tote bags or boxes or gift bags. I always use tearing tape. Okay, then we bring back in our folder. Now it needs to be this way, opening like that when you're putting it down. Now when you put it down, hold it on the back, because you don't want that to drop on, you don't want this to drop onto your folder before you have got it exactly in the place you want it in, because if you do, you will not get it up with the tearing tape. Now you just need to get it as close to this line, this first line closest to me, as you can, without going over it, because if you go over it, you won't be able to close your folder. Okay, so I just basically eyeball it, but I'm just looking at the top as well and at the bottom, and just getting it as close to that line as I can. And then that's inside your folder. So there's no way that that's going to come off with the tearing tape. So then we need a piece of DSP inside, which measures 7 7/8 of an inch by 2 7/8 of an inch, and that's for the inside. And with this I use my multi-purpose glue, because it's only DSP, so you only need to put a little bit on all 4 sides. So I try and get it flowing so that only a little bit is coming out, because it doesn't take much to glue down that DSP. Like that. Now just make sure, this pattern doesn't matter, but just make sure, my biggest tip is that you're putting it down the way the pattern is. So I'm going to be lining the top of this up with this. I like to use my grid paper, so I'm just going to pop that onto a line, and don't be too worried about it, because with the tear and tape you can move it a little bit. So don't put this bottom bit down yet, just hold it at the top, and when you've got it as straight as you're happy with, you're just going to let the rest go down, and then just run your finger down, because that's where you've put your glue, down the sides and at the bottom and at the top. Okay, so it's not really hard. So that's the inside done. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make the pocket. So the pocket measures 8 inches long by 3 inches wide, and then I've scored it at 4 inches and at 1 inch. Why I've done that is so that I can have that flap coming down. So I'm just going to burnish that with my bone folder. Then you need a piece of DSP that is 2 3/4 inches by 2 3/4 inches, and that's going to go there. And then you need a piece that is 3 3/4 by 2 3/4, and that's just going to go inside like that. And then I've just got a piece of scrap, and I'm just going to pop that over there like that. So we'll just position that in. So we'll put the piece inside first, once again with the multi-purpose glue. And you could use snail, but I just like to be able to move it if I haven't got it down completely straight. So with this piece, the most important place you need it lined up is at the top, because the bottom you're not going to see because that's going to be glued shut. So once you're happy with the top, just run your fingers down there. Then we just need to put excuse me, just the piece 2 3/4 inches by 2 3/4 inches for the front panel. And now it's the opposite this time. I want it to be as straight as possible at the bottom. I'll just take a quick look that I've got it lined up approximately the same at the sides. And then we're just going to take a piece of tear and tape. This is underneath the 1 inch flap. And with these little pockets, you can make them any size. They're ideal for as a gift card holder. You could make, when you make your cards, you could add one of these inside and then just pop your gift card inside, but just make sure the size of your gift card, because you have to allow, because we're putting glue, we're putting tear and tape down the sides like this. So you might have to, for a gift card, you might have to make it a little wider. So just keep that in mind. You could even make a large one and put it on the front of a card for something different. So that's just on the inside. So we're just going to take that off. Take that off, and then and that's your pocket done. It's very easy. So then with this piece to go across here, all I'm going to do is put a piece of tear and tape across here. And the tear and tape is very economical. There's about 27 meters, if I remember correctly, on a roll, so it's going to last you quite a while. Now, because of this particular design, I'm just lining up the lines with the top. So then that's just going to, then you just wrap that round. I did at the beginning start popping ribbon on here, but I thought rather than waste this designer series paper, I started using the DSP because it's just left over. And if you cut them correctly, if you cut these out, these folders out correctly with your DSP and your cardstock, you'll get one folder. You will use one A4 size of cardstock and one 12-inch by 12-inch piece of designer series paper. But with the designer series paper, just be wary how you're cutting it out so that you only use one piece. So I just want, now we just put 2 pieces. I used to put 3, but I think because this is such a strong adhesive, 2 is enough. I'm not going to pull this off yet. Oh, I might just pop it straight in the card. Yeah. So we'll just that's off there. So then we just peel these off, and you'll find I found it quite addictive, these folders. I just love making them, and I can see I'm going to be doing a few Christmas ones for gifts. So I'm just going to line it up on my grid paper. There's no real measurement to where you position it. I just want to position it inside the folder, and just as long as it's straight at the bottom. And then just press it down, because it's got tear and tape on there, it's not going to take much more. So that's the inside, and that's your pocket. And then when I get the little mini calendars, I'm going to pop them up there. So now we've only got to do the front. So for the front, you will need a piece of DSP that measures 8 1/8 of an inch by 2 7/8 of an inch, and that's the front. And then we've got a piece of cardstock that's 2 7/8 of an inch by 1.5 and 2 7/8 of an inch by 3/4. And I'm just going to layer the smaller piece of cardstock onto the larger piece. So let's line that up and just try and get it in the middle. So it's as straight as possible. And then I'm going to put another piece of tear and tape, one more, just straight across the middle of the small piece, because I'm going to add a piece of ribbon, and you don't have to. That's entirely up to you. You could just use DSP if you wanted to. Now I've got a piece of the new Cherry Cobbler ribbon that was released on the 1st of June 2017. because I never know when you're actually watching these tutorials. Could be years after I've done it. So I'm just going to put a bit of snail there just to catch that. Just snip a little bit of that ribbon off. Okay, so then you've got that nice little panel. So then we just need to put a piece of tear and tape over the ribbon because the glue just won't stick to the ribbon, I find. So I find it's better that you do have a piece of tear and tape over the ribbon, because we're going to apply this to the front of the card. And then I'll just get my glue back. So the main two glues that I use in this project is tear and tape and the multi-purpose glue. So I'm just going to turn that and have a piece on there like that. Then I'm just going to line this piece up. Now this DSP is easy because it's all going in one direction, but you just have to be careful what DSP you use. I find some are what I describe as being too busy. So I'm just lining that up, sort of just 2 grid lines. And then I just hold that down there and let that go. And then just press down where you've applied your glue. And that's your front. So then we're going to pop this onto, making sure, I'm always paranoid I'm going to put it upside down. So when I say too busy, I find that, like for my image, I just think if you weren't going to put an image on it, it wouldn't matter. But if you're going to put an image on the front, I think it's that would be just too busy. So I'm going to just apply the multi-purpose liquid glue on all 4 sides. Like that. Just put a little bit more there. You don't want too much, but you just want enough. There's no need to put glue all down here. Then I'm just going to make sure I've got it at the right. So I'm just going to have that on my grid line. Now a tip with the front piece is you will only have a very tiny border at the top. So you need to line it up. And that's the good thing with the multi-purpose liquid glue, is that you're going to line that up, and as long as you've got a straight line before you start rubbing it down, so I'm just going to press that down there and just down the sides, because that's where the glue is. Might open it just down the side and at the top. So you can see that you only have a very tiny border at the top. You most probably can't even see it because it's cherry cobbler on cherry cobbler. So but that's what, if you don't have it right to the top like that, it's going to end up being too long at the bottom here. It'll go over your card. So that's that. So then I've just got a sentiment. So this is just going to be a Christmas one. So I've just got a Christmas sentiment. And I'm just going to put one piece of tear and tape across there. You can add more if you want, but I've learned after making so many of them that you really only need the one, and you're just going to just eyeball it and just make sure your sentiment's straight and press that down. It's not going to come off once you've pressed it down. And I do think it's nice when it's gold embossed rather than just stamped, but that's your choice. Now I've just cut out, I've stamped with the Versamark ink and then added some clear embossing powder, which is gold from Stampin' Up, and then used my heat tool to set. Now I would strongly advise that you use the embossing buddy before you stamp with the Versamark ink, so you'll save yourself a lot of pain. So I might do another tutorial. I'm just showing you how the tips to cut out your, so I just start in the middle and sort of go out because I want a little bit on the edge, but I don't want too much. Yeah, as I was saying, I think I'll need to do another tutorial just giving you some tips on how to cut your DSP out so that you only have to use one piece of 12 by 12 inch cardstock. So I'm just going to put that in the center. Now for those that have already ordered the kits off me, you will have to use your own image and your own sentiment, because as per copyright Stampin' Up rules, I can't send you stamped images. But I'm sure you can stamp an image and a sentiment and just pop on the front. And there it is. So I hope that's helpful for those that have asked for the tutorial on these shopping list covers. And as I said, once I get the 2018 calendars, I'll be popping that there and sending out the kits as well. And that's your pocket there. So I hope you have a try on those. Any questions, please leave in my comments below and I will answer them for you. Until next time, happy crafting!